In the serene suburbs of a quaint small town, amidst rows of nearly identical houses, stood the residence where I, Olivia, spent my formative years. It was a modest two-story abode with a garden that had seen better days, and the mailbox that leaned slightly to the side, as if weary of standing upright. Memories flooded back to me of the days when Mom still graced us with her presence, infusing our home with laughter and warmth. But after her passing, everything shifted. My father, a respected doctor, immersed himself in his work, leaving my elder sister Emily and me to grapple with our grief in solitude. Emily, 3 years my senior, appeared to cope better, or perhaps she just concealed her pain more effectively. Whenever Dad was present, his attention was invariably fixed on Emily, her academic prowess making her the epitome of his pride and joy. Meanwhile, I often felt like a mere shadow in our household, overlooked and insignificant. One evening, during a rare occasion when Dad was home early, the contrast in his treatment towards us was glaring. "Emily, I heard from your teacher today," he began, a genuine smile adorning his face for the first time in what felt like ages. "She says you're at the top of your class in biology. I'm so proud of you. You're truly my daughter." Emily's cheeks flushed with pride as she thanked him, basking in his praise. Meanwhile, I fidgeted with my food, grappling with the familiar pang of exclusion. "I got an A in English," I murmured, more to my plate than to anyone else. Dad's smile waned as he turned towards me. "English? What use is that, Olivia? Why can't you be more like your sister? She's going to be a great doctor one day." His words hung heavy in the air, suffocating me with shame and embarrassment. It wasn't just disappointment. It was as if he couldn't comprehend why I couldn't mold myself into someone else, someone more akin to Emily. After dinner, I sought solace in my room, the only place where I felt a semblance of peace. Through the walls, I could hear Emily and Dad sharing laughter in the living room, further highlighting my sense of alienation. That night, as I lay in bed, I couldn't shake the nagging question: why couldn't Dad see me for who I was? Why was I always relegated to the shadows? Thus began my journey of self-discovery and independence, amidst the backdrop of high school, a time when most teenagers were navigating their way through friendships and the awkward journey to adulthood. For me, it was a period marked by an intensifying feeling of invisibility within my own family. As we grew older, Emily's accomplishments became more pronounced, especially in our father's eyes. She wasn't just excelling academically, she also displayed a keen interest in following Dad's footsteps into medicine. This only seemed to widen the chasm between Dad and me. One evening during my sophomore year, Emily burst through the door, brimming with excitement. Dad was engrossed in a stack of medical journals in the living room, while I sought refuge in a corner with a book, an escape from my reality. "Guess what, Dad?" Emily exclaimed, her eyes sparkling. Dad looked up, pride evident in his gaze. "That's wonderful, Emily. I knew you had it in you. You're going to make an excellent doctor one day." From my corner, I observed, feeling a mix of pride for Emily and a sinking feeling in my stomach. I knew what was coming next. "And what about you, Olivia? What have you done lately?" Dad's words pierced through me, and I closed my book, my heart racing. Dad shook his head, barely concealing his disdain. "Literature, that's a hobby, Olivia, not a career. Why don't you try to be more like your sister?" The words stung, as they always did. I glanced down at my book, tears threatening to spill. Emily shot me a sympathetic look, but she was swiftly drawn back into conversation with Dad about her achievements. That night, as I lay in bed, a growing resentment simmered within me. It wasn't just towards Dad for his blatant favoritism, but also towards Emily. It wasn't her fault, but she embodied everything I was not and everything Dad wanted me to be. As days turned into months, this pattern persisted. It wasn't that I lacked my own successes. I excelled in school, and my literature club made a real impact in the community. But in Dad's eyes, these achievements paled in comparison to the allure of a career in medicine. One afternoon, as I sat in the library, engrossed in a literature club project, a sudden realization struck me like a bolt of lightning. I didn't need my father's approval to take pride in my achievements. I was forging my own path, one distinct from Emily's, yet equally significant. This newfound understanding didn't erase the ache for my father's acceptance, but it did provide me with a sense of purpose. I wasn't just Emily's shadow. I was Olivia, with my own dreams and aspirations worth cherishing. College became a breath of fresh air for me, a chance to step out from beneath Emily's shadow and my father's expectations. Opting for a college far enough away to foster independence, yet close enough for occasional visits home, I embraced this opportunity. In my second year, I stumbled upon a field that ignited a genuine passion within me, dentistry. It was during a health sciences elective that I realized my fascination with the intricacies of dental care and its profound impact on overall health. One afternoon, deeply immersed in a text about dental anatomy, my friend Clara approached me. Clara had always felt more like a sister to me than Emily ever did. "Hey, Olivia, what's got you so captivated?" she inquired, peering over my shoulder. I looked up, a smile spreading across my face. "It's this dentistry course. I never realized how complex and fascinating it is. It's like solving a puzzle, understanding each part of the oral cavity and its impact on health." "Dentistry? Huh? That's pretty cool. You always did like solving puzzles?" Clara remarked, raising an eyebrow. Our conversation was interrupted by a call from my father. My heart sank a little, anticipating the usual disappointment in his tone. "Olivia, your sister just got accepted into med school. What are you doing with your life? Have you given any more thought to pursuing a real career like medicine?" Taking a deep breath, I summoned newfound confidence. "Actually, Dad, I found something I'm really passionate about. I'm thinking of going into dentistry." There was a pause on the other end of the line, followed by his disapproving response. "Dentistry? That's not a real doctor, Olivia. Why must you always choose the easy way out?" His words stung, but I remained resolute. "It's not the easy way out, Dad. It's what I'm interested in. It's what I want to do." His sigh spoke volumes of resignation rather than understanding. "Well, it's your life. Just don't come running to me when you realize you've made a mistake," he retorted before hanging up. Clara placed a comforting hand on my shoulder. "Don't listen to him, Olivia. You've got to do what's right for you, not what's right for him." That conversation marked a turning point for me, a moment of clarity where I embraced the realization that I didn't have to conform to my father's expectations. From that moment on, I immersed myself in my studies with renewed vigor, determined to excel in a field that truly spoke to my passion. I had chosen for myself. I spent the rest of my college years balancing academics with practical experiences in dental clinics. The more I learned, the more convinced I became that I had made the right choice. It was a world away from the life my father had envisioned for me, but it was my life. And I was determined to live it on my own terms. As college came to an end, I felt a mix of excitement and apprehension about the future. Stepping into the unknown was daunting, but for the first time, it was a path I had chosen for myself, and that made all the difference. After college, I, Olivia, embarked on the challenging journey of establishing my career in dentistry. The path was fraught with obstacles, but each hurdle only strengthened my resolve. I worked tirelessly, often juggling multiple roles as an intern, a researcher, and a part-time clinician. A few years into my career, my hard work began to pay off. I was offered a partnership at a well-established dental clinic in the city. It was a dream come true, a testament to my dedication and skill. Yet this triumph was mine alone. I hadn't shared my progress with my father or Emily. I feared their reaction, or worse, their indifference. One evening, as I celebrated this milestone with close friends at a cozy restaurant downtown, amidst laughter and congratulations, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Emily, a rare occurrence. "Hey, Olivia, Dad's asking about what you're doing these days. He's curious if you ever made anything of yourself." What should I tell him? I stared at the screen, feeling a familiar sting of old wound surfacing. I typed out a reply, keeping it vague. "Tell them I'm doing fine, just working." As I put my phone away, my friend Mark noticed my change in demeanor. Everything okay, Olivia? I forced a smile. Yeah, it's just family stuff, you know how it is. Mark nodded understandingly. You've done amazing things, Olivia. Don't let anyone, not even family, make you feel otherwise. His words were comforting, but they couldn't erase the years of feeling overshadowed and undervalued by my family. The following week, I found myself in an upscale dental conference, rubbing shoulders with some of the best in the field. I was presenting a paper I had co-authored on innovative dental prosthetics, a significant achievement in my career. As I walked off the stage to a round of applause, my phone rang. Olivia, Emily told me you're just working. Why don't you take your career seriously? You know it's not too late to consider medical school. Dad's voice rang out, pulling me back to reality, especially after the high of my successful presentation. Dad, I am serious about my career. I'm actually doing very well in dentistry, I responded, trying to keep my tone steady despite the familiar sting of his words. There was a pause on the other end. And then dentistry? That's not a real career. You could have been a doctor like your sister. The words hit hard, but I found strength in my achievements. Dentistry is a real career, Dad, and I'm good at it. I wish you could see that. He didn't respond, and the line went dead. I stood there, phone in hand, feeling a mix of anger and sadness. It was clear that no matter what I achieved, it would never be enough for him. That night, as I lay in bed, I reflected on my journey. I had built a successful career, one that I was proud of, but I had done it without the support of my family. It was a bittersweet realization. I decided then to focus on my achievements and the life I had built for myself, rather than seeking validation from those who could not see my worth. The chapter of my unspoken success was just that, mine and unspoken. But it was filled with accomplishments that spoke volumes about who I was and what I was capable of, even if my father couldn't see it. Years had passed since I, Olivia, had chosen to carve my own path in dentistry, leaving behind my father's expectations and the shadow of my sister, Emily. My career had flourished, yet the chasm between my family and me had only widened. Communication was sparse, often limited to brief formal exchanges during holidays or obligatory family gatherings. One such occasion arose, a family dinner at Dad's house, a rare event meant to celebrate Emily's latest achievement in her medical career. I arrived with a mix of reluctance and a faint hope for some semblance of familial connection. The evening began with polite small talk, the kind that skirts around the edges of deeper conversations. Emily shared stories of her residency at a prestigious hospital, each tale met with Dad's beaming pride. Then, as we settled into the main course, Dad turned his attention to me, his tone tinged with familiar criticism. So, Olivia, it's been a while since we've heard about your career. How is your little dental practice going? The room grew tense, and Emily glanced at me, a silent plea for peace in her eyes. I took a deep breath, choosing my words carefully. It's going well, Dad? The practice is growing, and we're making a real difference in people's lives, I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. Dad scoffed, his words sharp and cutting. A real difference? You could have been making a real difference as a doctor like your sister. Instead, you chose this lesser path. The old wound, always simmering just beneath the surface, began to throb. Dentistry is not a lesser path, Dad. It's a vital part of healthcare. I've worked hard to build my practice, and I'm proud of what I've achieved. Dad's expression hardened. Proud? You turned your back on a noble profession for teeth. You've always been the disappointment, Olivia. I just hoped you'd come to your senses. Eventually, Emily interjected, her voice a mix of concern and frustration. Dad, that's enough. Olivia's done well for herself. But Dad was unrelenting. No, Emily, she needs to hear this. She's dishonored our family, and I can't pretend to be proud of her choices. His words struck like a physical blow. I felt a rush of emotions, anger, hurt, and a deep-seated frustration. Standing up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor, I faced him. Dishonored the family because I chose a different career. No, Dad. The only dishonor here is your inability to see and respect your own daughter's choices, I retorted, my voice firm. The room fell silent. Dad's face reddened, his anger palpable. If you can't respect my wishes, then you can leave my house. I won't have such disrespect at my table. Without a word, I turned and left, the sound of my footsteps echoing in the tense air. Emily called out, but I didn't stop. The finality of the moment hung heavily around me. Outside, under the cold night sky, I felt a mixture of liberation and deep sadness. The confrontation had been brewing for years, and now it had erupted, leaving a gaping rift between me and my family. As I drove away, the weight of the evening settled in. I had stood up for myself, for my choices. But at what cost? The pain of my father's rejection was sharp, yet there was a sense of relief too. I had finally spoken my truth, and in doing so, I had freed myself from the burden of his expectations. The chapter closed on a bittersweet note, marking the end of my struggle for my father's approval and the beginning of a new chapter, one where I could fully embrace my own identity, independent of my family's shadow. The confrontation at my father's house left me, Olivia, in a state of emotional turmoil. The drive home was a blur, my mind replaying the harsh words and the final painful severance of my familial ties. The house I returned to was quiet, a stark contrast to the storm of emotions raging within me. The next morning, I was scheduled to attend an important dental conference. My mind, however, was far from the intricacies of dentistry. As I prepared, my thoughts were interrupted by a knock at the door. It was my chauffeur, a service I had indulged in since my practice had become successful. "Good morning, Mrs. Olivia. The car is ready," he said with a polite smile. I nodded, offering a faint smile in return. The luxury car, a symbol of my hard-earned success, suddenly felt like an empty consolation. The conference was a whirlwind of presentations and networking, but my heart wasn't in it. My encounter with my father had left a deep scar, and I couldn't shake off the feeling of rejection. As the day drew to a close, I decided to make a stop at my parents' house. A part of me yearned for closure, for some sign of reconciliation. I arrived to find my father in the garden, tending to the flowers that had been my mother's pride. He looked up, surprise etched on his face. "Olivia, what are you doing here?" he asked. I took a deep breath, the words flowing out. "I came to say that I'm sorry for last night, but I'm not sorry for my choices. I've built a successful practice, Dad. I help people every day, and I'm good at what I do." He put down his gardening tools, wiping his hands on his apron. "I saw your car, Olivia. How did you afford something like that? You said your practice was just doing fine." The question stung, but I stood my ground. Yes, it's more than fine. I've worked hard, and I've made a good life for myself. A life I chose, not the one you wanted for me. Dad's expression softened slightly. "I just wanted the best for you, Olivia. I thought following in my footsteps was that best, but it wasn't. Dad, it was never what I wanted. I found my own way, and I'm happy with it. I just wish you could be happy for me too," I replied, feeling a mix of relief and apprehension. He looked away, a mix of emotions crossing his face. "I don't understand your choices, Olivia, but maybe I don't have to. It's your life after all." It wasn't a complete acceptance, but it was a start. I nodded, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. "Thank you, Dad. That's all I ever wanted." As I drove away, I felt a sense of closure. The confrontation and subsequent conversation marked a turning point in my relationship with my father. It was a tentative step towards understanding and perhaps acceptance. The chapter ended with me looking towards the future, ready to embrace whatever came my way. The path I had chosen wasn't easy, but it was mine. And for the first time, I felt truly at peace with it. The resolution with my father marked a pivotal change in my life. The past, with its shadows of neglect and misunderstanding, had given way to a present filled with possibilities and a future unburdened by the need for approval. I, Olivia, stood at the threshold of a new chapter, one where my identity and achievements were defined by my own standards. As I settled into this newfound sense of self, my dental practice continued to thrive. I had built a reputation not just for excellence in dentistry, but also for a compassionate approach to patient care. My clinic became a place where people didn't just come for dental work, but for the warmth and understanding we offered. One day, as I was closing up the clinic, my receptionist, Anna, approached me. "Olivia, there's someone here to see you. Says it's important." Curious, I walked to the lobby and was surprised to see Emily standing there, looking a bit hesitant. "Emily, what are you doing here?" I asked, genuinely surprised. She took a deep breath. "I wanted to talk to you, Olivia. After what happened with Dad, I realized I haven't been the sister I should have been to you." Her words were unexpected, and I motioned for her to sit down in the waiting area. "It's been a long time since we really talked, Emily." "I know, and I'm sorry. I got so caught up in Dad's expectations and my career. I never stopped to see how amazing you were doing on your own," she admitted. I nodded, a mix of emotions swirling within me. "Thank you, Emily. It was an easy feeling like I was always in your shadow, always failing to meet Dad's expectations." "I know, and I wish I had seen it sooner. But I'm here now, Olivia. I want to be a part of your life, if you'll let me," she said earnestly. Her words were a balm to the years of distance and misunderstandings. "I'd like that, Emily. I really would." From that date forward, Emily and I began rebuilding our relationship. It was a process with its ups and downs, but it was grounded in a newfound respect and understanding for each other's choices. As my personal life found its harmony, my professional life soared to new heights. I was invited to speak at dental conferences, sharing my insights and innovations in the field. My practice expanded, and I began mentoring young dentists, passing on the lessons I had learned on my journey. One evening, I found myself at a dinner with some of the leading figures in dentistry. I was sharing a table with Dr. Helen Jacobs, a renowned dental surgeon I had always admired. "Olivia, I've been following your work," Dr. Jacobs said, her eyes reflecting genuine respect. "You've brought something special to this field. Your approach to patient care is exemplary." I felt a surge of pride. "Thank you, Dr. Jacobs. That means a lot coming from you. I've always believed that dentistry is more than just treating teeth. It's about treating people." She nodded. "And that's what sets you apart, Olivia. Keep doing what you're doing. You're making a real difference." The evening ended with a sense of accomplishment and a reaffirmation of my choices. I had not only found my place in the world of dentistry, but I had also carved a niche that was uniquely mine. This final chapter, New Beginnings, was about more than just professional success. It was about personal growth, healing familial relationships, and embracing life on my own terms. The journey had been long and fraught with challenges, but it had led me to a place of contentment and fulfillment. As I looked ahead, I was filled with optimism and a deep sense of gratitude for the path I had chosen. My story was a testament to the fact that sometimes the road less traveled not only makes all the difference, but also leads to the most